divinely revealed. 12 miraculous reasons not to discard the belongings of the departed in the heart of a quaint English village, where history whispers through cobbled streets. A tremor of divinity threaded through the air. Margaret, a devout woman recently widowed, was igniting a spiritual upheaval with an unexpected discovery. The remnants of her late husband, Thomas. Just as the grand steeple of their church began to pierce the soft, golden sky, the unfolding miracle revealed itself, a compelling call to hold tightly to the memories of those who had departed. She was standing at a precipice, questioning, should I discard these precious belongings or cherish them? In her cozy sitting room, surrounded by remnants of their love, Margaret felt the weight of the world pressing heavy on her heart. Each item invoked the familiar scent of Thomas, the worn leather jacket, the faded photographs, and now, in an unexpected moment of reflection, his journal concealed beneath a stack of old books. She opened it. The pages crinkled, filled with fervent prayers and dreams woven with faith. As she read snippets, words danced around her, lifting her spirit. Suddenly, the village began to buzz, each corner sparking with divine manifestations. One stormy night, as thunder boomed and clouds darkened, a lost child meandered home, guided by unseen hands, whispering the name of Thomas. Marriages on the brink of collapse were healing. Becoming strong once again, they credited their renewed vows to whispered prayers that echoed from Thomas's own lifelong devotion. Amidst these unfolding wonders, whispers now filled the village square. People echoed tales of grace, claiming that cherished keepsakes served as vessels of hope. Yet, self-doubt gnawed at Margaret, casting shadows over her spirit. Could these items indeed hold power? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The weeks unfolded, drenching Margaret in doubt, but also in profound moments stirring her to remember. One evening, as the villagers gathered for a prayer service beneath the church's grand steeple, a sensation washed over her, a trembling connection, a heartbeat of faith igniting within the congregation. They prayed fervently, voices rising to the heavens, and in that sacred sanctuary, Margaret felt the shift. The air thickened with hope, and everyone became aglow with realization. Miracles showered down around her, hearts opening, spirits mending. It was miraculous healing, families reunited, laughter spilling over from old wounds now healed. The walls echoed Thomas's legacy, each belonging a reminder of divine presence, a testament to love unbroken. But as the energy swelled, a gale blew through the church, scattering journal pages like fallen leaves. Margaret clutched the journal tightly, heart racing, standing at a threshold to embrace her husband's legacy or yield to the creeping shadows of skepticism. What would she decide? Did the power of love and remembrance transcend grief? The village held its breath, their own lives entwined in this moment. The choice lay before her, heavier than any doubt. Would she allow the past to guide her toward miracles yet unseen? Margaret stood in a whirlwind of emotion, the journal warm in her hands as if infused with Thomas's spirit. As the last page fluttered to the ground, she felt a shift in the very air, as if the heart of the universe was bending close to listen. The voices around her grew louder, but they merged into a single rhythm, pulsing with hope. Could it be that she had been blind to the power of these possessions all along? The doubts that had engulfed her, like shadows creeping around her heart, began to lift. With each breath, she whispered a prayer, asking for clarity. In moments of prayer, when souls connect deeply, the divine becomes manifest. Did she dare to believe that her husband's legacy could pierce through her grief and forge a path to healing? Margaret. A voice called. It was Father James, his warm, reassuring tone cutting through the tension. He stepped closer, eyes soft with understanding. Do you feel the presence of something greater tonight? Look around you. And she did. The faces of the villagers sparkled not just with candlelight, but with a shared faith and unyielding trust in the ties that bound them to their loved ones. Each flickering flame was a tribute to past lives, each prayer a bridge to the divine. Margaret's eyes welled with tears as she felt the unmistakable truth dawning upon her. Love doesn't vanish with the physical realm. Every belonging cradled within her home was a testament to that love. It spoke to her heart, imparting lessons and moments, weaving together a tapestry of existence. If I discard these, I may lose a piece of him. She whispered more to herself than to Father James, her resolve strengthening. These items carry memories, they carry faith. A silent prayer for wisdom enveloped her spirit, wrapping around her like a warm embrace, igniting a flicker of joy buried deep within her sorrow. As she looked around the room filled with villagers, she realized they were not just witnesses to her grief, but participants in the divine journey of memory and hope. Suddenly, amidst the gathering, a soft singing rose, a familiar hymn echoing from her younger days. It floated through the church like a gentle caress, reminding her of the laughter and love she'd shared with Thomas. She closed her eyes, letting the memories wash over her like a spring rain, rekindling forgotten warmth. Father James continued, "These gifts are not mere objects. They are sacred portals to our loved ones. Each thread of memory gently pulls us back to the light, encouraging us to embrace the journey of healing." At that moment, Margaret felt a surge of peace flood her heart and mind like an overflowing cup. It was as if Thomas himself was smiling at her, assuring her that her choice mattered not just for her, but for everyone seeking solace. "I'll keep them," she declared, her voice steady, echoing like a clarion call. "I'll cherish everything. I understand now. They are vessels of love, the markers of faith and remembrance." As she opened her eyes, the room erupted in joyful murmurs, hands raised in praise and gratitude. Together they understood that in each small act of devotion lay a beacon of hope. Each trinket can weave a story of grace, shining through the darkness. But even as the light engulfed her, one thought lingered in the deep corners of her heart: what lay ahead? If she embraced this revelation, what extraordinary path would unfold before her? The evening deepened, and a subtle hush fell over the villagers. They sensed that a divine mystery was afoot. As Margaret's heart quickened, she felt an exhilarating whisper in her soul: could there be more to discover? More to unlock from the world that Thomas had left behind? What other hidden miracles awaited her? As the fragrant candles flickered in the dim light, Margaret stood at the center of a sacred flame of hope. She could feel the warmth radiating from each villager, their faith intertwined. They had become a tapestry of shared souls, woven together in their collective yearning for connection and understanding. "Let the night be a celebration of memories," Father James announced, his voice reverberating softly against the walls of the old church. "Tonight, we honor our lost loved ones and the legacies they've left behind. Let us remember that the love we shared transcends even death." A chorus of agreement rippled through the room, creating a comforting hum that wrapped around her like a soft shawl. Margaret's heart swelled at Father James's words. Love as a legacy, it was the radiant truth she had stumbled upon. Margaret looked down at the journal, its pages now fluttering in the gentle breeze of the church. The inked words felt alive, each sentence able to sparkle with the essence of Thomas's spirit. With each flicker of the candlelight, the stories danced anew, beckoning her to delve deeper. She realized she wasn't merely preserving material objects. She was keeping alive fragments of a beautiful life. "Would anyone like to share a memory?" Father James asked, his kind gaze sweeping across the congregation. A hand shot up from the back of the room. It was Mrs. Thompson, her voice quavering with emotion. "When my husband passed, I held onto his old guitar. I didn't think I could ever play again. I felt lost without his strumming. But one day, I picked it up and played our song. I could almost hear him singing along. Tears trickled down her face, yet her smile remained radiant." Margaret felt a rush of warmth at her story, a reminder that in holding onto those precious memories, they were never truly gone. The atmosphere sparked with the collective energy of shared experiences, a testament to the power of remembrance. One by one, Stories poured forth like a healing balm. Each memory, a note in the symphony of their existence. Margaret listened, her spirit intertwining with those of her neighbors. They were all pilgrims on the same path, navigating love, loss, and the unimaginable beauty that exists in the echoes of the past. As the stories wound down, Father James spoke again, his voice rich with vulnerability. Friends, every object tied to our loved ones carries not just their essence but lessons for us, perhaps even guidance. In keeping these items, we open our hearts. We invite divine surprises and new beginnings into our lives. Margaret felt her pulse quicken at his words. A realization bloomed within her. If they could be vessels of light and hope, then what an incredible journey lay ahead. Perhaps she would find a deeper purpose, a calling as she honored the life of Thomas. With newfound energy, she lifted her head, allowing hope to illuminate her heart. What if she dared to voice, these items could lead us not only to remembrance but to new revelations? Could they unlock unexpected paths and connections? The room buzzed with anticipation, eyes sparkling as they contemplated her words. Father James nodded, his expression radiant. Indeed, Margaret, what God had not yet revealed might be far greater than we can imagine. The first step is to embrace the unknown, to trust that our faith can guide us to places of extraordinary grace. As she caught her breath, Margaret couldn't shake the feeling that her journey was just beginning. The world felt vast and inviting, filled with miracles waiting to be uncovered, waiting to reveal their divine truths. And in that moment, amid flickering candlelight and the warmth of a shared spirit, she wondered what extraordinary revelations awaited her on this new path. What hidden truths lay among the treasures Thomas had left behind? As the quiet murmur of thoughts filled the church, Margaret could feel the excitement in the air. It was almost palpable, like the warm glow of candlelight wrapping around her. Each villager seemed to carry a spark of hope, ignited by the love they shared for their beloved ones now gone. Father James, sensing the shift in atmosphere, smiled gently. Tonight, dear friends, our loved ones are not just memories. They are guiding lights. Each of their possessions can speak to us, whispering wisdom we may not yet understand. Margaret's heart surged. Could Thomas's belongings truly guide her? The thought brought both thrill and a touch of apprehension. She envisioned the small box tucked away in her attic, filled with snippets of his life-old photographs, a worn jersey from his favorite team, and that little trinket from their first vacation together. Each object a fragment, each fragment a potential doorway that asked if reading her mind. Father James continued, "Tonight, let us ask these treasures what they wish to reveal. Let us open our hearts to the possibilities." With renewed determination, Margaret decided she would take the first step. "I want to explore," she found herself saying aloud, voice trembling with excitement. "I want to see what these items, these treasures left behind, can teach me." A soft clapping erupted from the back of the church. It was Mrs. Thompson, her eyes glistening with admiration. "You're so brave, Margaret. I think we all feel that pull to reconnect. It's like our loved ones never really left if we let their stories guide us." The conversation blossomed. Each villager began to share their own feelings about their lost ones' belongings, forming a circle of recognition and understanding. It was as if they were all on the cusp of something incredible. Each story shared a thread, weaving them closer together in a shared quest for revelation. Suddenly, Harold, a quiet man who seldom spoke, raised his hand almost timidly. I still wear my wife's old scarf every night. Comforts me, keeps me connected to her. But I felt guilty wondering if I need to let go, move on." Father James leaned in, his eyes filled with kindness. "Harold, to hold on to the scarf is not a sign of being stuck. It's a testament to love. There may come a time when it's appropriate to let go, but only you can decide when that moment is right. Trust that your heart will guide you." The room fell silent for a brief moment, heavy with reflection. Everyone sensed the truth in that. There was no right or wrong in how to preserve love. Only the journey they were on, together and individually. Margaret felt the weight of the moment. How precious it was to realize that healing could come through the simplest of acts, remembering. She sensed a breeze sweep through the church, carrying a scent of something familiar. It felt uplifting, almost like a gentle caress from Thomas, reassuring her. Maybe, she said softly, we can start a group to explore our loved ones' memories. Share what we find and how it touches our lives. Connect through their stories. Excitement filled the air again, and one by one, others began to nod in agreement. The electricity of possibility buzzed within the walls. Margaret could feel Goddess' presence stirring in those moments, nudging them toward a collective enlightenment. As the discussions grew deeper, she could almost see the paths of the future unfolding before her, an intertwining of stories, a vibrant community united in love and remembrance. But as she stood there, courage threaded through her heart. A question lingered in her soul. Could journeys of the past truly lead to discoveries of a brighter future? And what would those revelations mean for her life, for the lives of everyone in that room? With hope sparkling in her heart and questions swirling in her mind, Margaret felt a gentle nudge from the divine. She was ready to face whatever awaited her next. The atmosphere in the church buzzed with newfound energy as Margaret's words settled in. Faces lit up with anticipation, but also the weight of memories that their hearts held dear. Each villager began to glimpse the potential of unearthing these hidden treasures, both personal and communal. Father James looked around, a gentle smile parting his lips. What Margaret has suggested is not merely a gathering. It is a journey, a pilgrimage into the heart of our pasts. His voice was warm and enveloping, like a protective shawl. Through their stories, our loved ones may teach us the true essence of love, life, and the divine connection that binds us all. Margaret felt the power of Father James's words wrap around her like a soft embrace. She felt seen. It was one thing to be overwhelmed by grief, but another to be empowered to transform that grief into something meaningful. A murmur of agreement rippled through the congregation. Mrs. Thompson clapped her hands together, her eyes shimmering like gemstones. What about our cherished moments? They deserve a voice. Let us begin with one item from each of us, something that held special meaning. Great idea. A voice chimed from the back. It was Lucy, a teenager who lost her father not long ago. I have a diary of my dad's. He used to write in it every day. Maybe that could help us understand him better? Margaret felt her heart swell. Every story had a ripple effect, and together they could create waves of hope and healing. The air was saturated with divine possibility, carrying her thoughts deeper. Father James nodded approvingly. Let us not forget that these items can serve as conduits, bringing us closer to our loved ones while revealing their wisdom. We'll meet again next week. Bring one cherished item and prepare to share its story. But as excitement coursed through the room, a question tugged gently at the corners of Margaret's mind. What if the stories were harder to face than she imagined? What if the memories brought more pain than peace? Harold's voice broke the silence again. Sharing is daunting. What if my story reveals the fractures in my heart? Father James stepped forward, extending an open hand, inviting vulnerability. Every story is precious, Harold. Healing lies in the act of sharing, in allowing our hearts to unburden themselves. Remember, he paused deliberately, eyes glistening with compassion. Love never truly dies. It transforms, and so too shall we. As the words filled the space, the atmosphere thickened with the weight of divine warmth and understanding. Margaret could feel it, the fabric of hope weaving through their gathering, binding them closer within their shared sorrow and joy. Decisions solidified that night. Margaret would not only seek out her own memories. She would dig deeper, discovering treasures hidden within her own heart, as well as the hearts of others. What once were mere relics of loss would transform into stepping stones toward something beautiful and enlightening. But even as hope blossomed, Margaret knew a storm might be brewing within the comfort of shared memories. What shadows might emerge in the light of remembrance? Would they find clarity or only echoes of their sorrow? With contemplations heavy in her heart and the thread of Goddess' promise stitching them together, Margaret left the church that night filled with purpose yet shadowed by intrigue. As she wandered home, the whisper of a challenge beckoned her. Would the stories they would unveil shape them piece by piece, and lead them into an even greater divine understanding? Awaiting in their next meeting lurked not only memories but the promise of deep, transformative revelations. The days leading up to their next gathering felt like an eternity for Margaret. Each morning, she'd awaken with a flutter of excitement mixed with trepidation. The items they would share began to loom large in her mind. She searched her heart for memories that felt worthy, that felt laden with the richness of life yet unburdened by sadness. Her grandmother's locket glimmered in the back of her drawer. It was small, almost delicate, yet it held a universe of stories within. She remembered how her grandmother used to clutch it in her hands, speaking of love that transcended time and space. "Captures the essence of who we are," she would say, eyes dreamy and far away. Margaret wondered if she could share not just the locket, but the legacy of love it represented. Then, there was the soft quilt her mother made. Each patch represented a moment shared over cups of tea and laughter that filled their home. It was a symbol of warmth and the embrace of family. How could these objects, once just remnants of past lives, become vessels of wisdom? As the appointed day arrived, the church was alive with nervous energy. Villagers gathered, carrying their treasures close to their hearts. Each face reflected a mix of hope and apprehension, as if they were entering sacred ground. Father James welcomed them with open arms, his serenity filling the room like a gentle tide. "Together, we are here to reconnect not just with our pasts but with the divine presence that runs through our stories. Each of you carries a piece of that tapestry." Hands gripped familiar items tightly as they each prepared to speak. An anxious silence filled the room until Mrs. Thompson broke it, her voice trembling yet resolute. "This is my husband's old fishing rod. He believed every time he cast it into the water, it was a way to fish for the good things in life." As she shared, the surrounding energy shifted. The villagers leaned in, craving the warmth of her memories, absorbing lessons of love and life. Lucy followed, her diary held close as though it contained a sacred flame. "My dad saw life in letters. He gave me the words to carry his spirit forward." As her voice echoed in the room, it chilled and warmed at the same time. The act of sharing transformed them all. One by one, stories emerged, raw yet beautiful. Each tale unveiled a layer of vulnerability, revealing deep truths about the human experience: the ripples, the gaps, and the embraces. Laughter emerges alongside tears, as memories amalgamated sorrow with sublime joy. Through it all, Margaret felt the pulse of something electric, something larger than themselves, weaving through the air. It was a spiritual connection, a rich tapestry made from their shared narratives, bursting to life before them. As the evening waned, Margaret felt emboldened. She stood up, clutching her grandmother's locket and her mother's quilt beneath her arm. "I never realized how powerful these memories could be. Each thread, each story threads us together, revealing a love that holds us unbending." But before she could delve deeper, a darkness curled through her mind. What shadows still lingered in her heart? What secrets lay cloaked within the stories they were telling? The room resonated with silent questions. The possibility of confrontation danced at the edges of their gathering, waiting patiently to be addressed. Could they really face not just the warmth of their stories, but also the unresolved pain that might arise? It echoed in Margaret's mind as she made her way home that night, heart pounding with the possibility of revelation. If memories could weave hope, could they also unearth the burdens that lay hidden? The answer was out there, waiting just beyond the horizon of uncovering, like a divine secret yet to be unveiled. Morning light broke over the horizon as Margaret awoke, its warmth gently urging her to face a new day. Yet, the weight of yesterday lingered on her heart, heavy and palpable. She had shared stories, but now the thought of unearthing deeper truths nagged at her spirit. Standing by her window, she gazed at the quilt draped across her chair. Each patch told a tale of laughter and solace, but it was the shadows that danced around her mind that demanded attention. Was there grief still lodged deep within? An unseen current tugged at her. It felt divine yet daunting that as she dressed, the locket rested against her skin, a silent reminder of her grandmother's wisdom. Margaret remembered the words, spoken gently yet firmly, that love required both joy and pain. Had her grandmother not taught her that to truly embrace love, one must confront the full spectrum of emotions? With a sigh, Margaret knew it was time to delve deeper. The church was quiet as she made her way back, drawn by an unseen pull. It wasn't just a building. It felt like a sacred sanctuary where hearts intertwined like threads in her mother's quilt. Father James was already there, his calm presence inviting. "Ah, Margaret," he greeted softly. "I sensed you might return today." His knowing smile felt like the sun breaking through a cloudy sky. I find myself troubled," Margaret admitted, the words slipping out like a gentle confession. "What if there are deeper stories we've yet to voice? What if these memories hold sorrow that must be released?" Father James nodded, his eyes reflecting both compassion and insight. "Ah, to confront our burdens is indeed a holy task. Do you remember the path of healing we spoke about? Each story, every object we cherish, holds sacred energy. It can be a well of love, but also a reservoir of unspoken grief." Margaret's heart raced. "But how do we face that? How do I share what haunts me without being swallowed whole?" "Like a lighthouse guiding lost ships," he said, a soft light in his gaze. "Your vulnerability can be a beacon. When we acknowledge our shadows, we allow the light to shine in. There is strength in honesty. Do not fear the depths. Let it flow." His words stirred within her. They felt like an invitation to dance with the divine, embracing not just the light but the dark shadows entwined within. Margaret closed her eyes, envisioning the gathering again. Faces bright with stories, yet beneath each smile, she sensed veils of grief. Would they all connect over tears, learn to carry each other's burdens? That night, the possibility of transformation glimmered at her fingertips. "What if we began a new ritual?" Margaret suggested suddenly. "What if we brought something not just of joy, but of hurt? Something we can lay bare before our community so we might share the healing as well?" Father James smiled, and a sense of hope unfurled. "Your heart is aligning with the divine, Margaret. The call to share both joy and sorrow can unleash incredible grace. Together, you all can weave a tapestry richer than before." As she walked home that evening, Margaret felt lighter yet fuller, like a vessel prepared to overflow. The shadows that once seemed daunting now danced playfully. Would sharing vulnerabilities bring a healing light? She gazed up at the stars, her spirit buzzing with anticipation. Tomorrow promised to be a day of courage and love, where memories would no longer just whisper but sing a hymn of hope. The darkness behind her stilled as she pondered. What questions lay in the hearts of her friends? What healing would they each discover? A bittersweet excitement coursed through her veins. Tomorrow would not just unveil stories, but perhaps reveal a shared burden, waiting to be acknowledged and embraced. How transformative could this gathering be? Only time would tell. The sun rose with a soft glow, lighting Margaret's path as she made her way to the church. Today felt different. A strange excitement danced just beneath her skin. She was filled with purpose, each step echoing the rhythmic beat of her heart. A heart ready to share, ready to heal. As she arrived at the church, she saw other familiar faces gathered outside, hushed conversations blending like a warm embrace. Each person carried something in their hands, small boxes, worn photographs, even faded letters. It struck Margaret that these weren't just items. They were pieces of their souls, relics of love, pain, and memories. Father James met her gaze with an encouraging nod. "Hold your heart open, Margaret. What you share can ignite a spark in others." His words were like gentle winds, coaxing the flowers of courage to bloom within her. To begin, Margaret stood before the small, eager crowd and felt their collective breath. "Thank you all for coming. Today, we gather not just to share joy but to unveil what lingers in the shadows of our hearts," she said, her voice steady despite the tremor of emotion. "Each of us carries a piece of our past." A man, David, stepped forward first. He opened the box in his hands, revealing a collection of old letters. "These are from my late wife," he said, his voice thick with nostalgia. "When she was diagnosed, we wrote letters to each other every night. They were our lifeline." With tender hands, he began to read, each word pulling the church into a sacred silence. As the letters fell into the air, echoing with love, others began to feel the stirrings in their own hearts. One by one, they took turns, revealing stories of loss and love. A young woman shared a dress that belonged to her mother, its fabric still holding the scent of home and safety. Another spoke of a fishing rod passed down through generations, capturing moments of laughter along the riverbank. It was as if a tapestry was being woven, each story intertwining with the next, vibrantly alive. Margaret felt her own burden bubbling to the surface as she listened, each tale drawing out her unspoken grief. When her turn arrived, she held the locket close, feeling the warmth of her grandmother's presence. This locket held my grandmother's wisdom. She taught me that both joy and sadness are sacred. She began, her eyes glistening. When I asked her about love, she said it's about sharing every part of ourselves, light and dark alike. With that, she opened her locket, a well of memories pouring forth. I find grief in the spaces where I miss her most. But today, I want to honor both the joy she brought and the sorrow of her absence. Her voice trembled, yet was fiercely brave. I hope to heal, and I want all of us to feel that healing together. Tears flowed freely now. Hearts were laid bare like tender shoots breaking through soil. They were no longer alone, held by a divine connection that soared above their individual stories. Each whispered moment, each shared tear, felt like a prayer rising to the heavens, knitting them closer together in that sacred space. Father James stepped forward, his eyes shining with joy. Today, we've learned that our burdens do not need to be carried alone. In the act of sharing, we lighten each other's load. We find grace in vulnerability. The room felt charged, the air thick with hope and healing. Margaret noticed how the shadows around her heart began to dissipate, replaced by a warm glow of connection. As the gathering drew to a close, she looked at her friends. What if we continued this, not just today, but every month? A chance to share and lift one another? The thought ignited a spark in the air, sparking agreement and smiles. She felt a shift, a calling deeper than before. What divine truths awaited them in their shared journeys? What healing lay ahead as they bravely stared into their collective wounds? A breath of expectation hung in the air. With new stories yet to unfold, she wondered, what revelations would they discover in the days to come? Would they find the light together, even in the darkest corners? The following weeks passed with a serene rhythm, wrapping the community in a gentle embrace of connection. Each month, Margaret's idea blossomed into a haven of healing. The church buzzed with storytellers, each pouring forth their tale, sharing fragments of their lives. Margaret watched as hearts opened like flowers to the sun, nourished by the loving energy of the congregation. One evening, as twilight cast a golden hue across the world, Father James invited everyone to bring a cherished belonging to the next gathering. These items, he said, are more than possessions. They are keepers of our stories. They hold the whispers of those we love and the lessons we've learned. His words rang true to Margaret, igniting a fortified purpose within her heart. As the day approached, she found herself rummaging through boxes in her attic, each item stirring memories that danced through her mind like dust in sunbeams. Finally, she settled on an old journal belonging to her grandmother, its cover worn and faded. It was filled with delicate handwriting thoughts on love, loss, faith, and the beauty of small miracles. During the gathering, a sacred energy filled the church. Attendees came, their arms cradling treasures from their pasts: an old guitar, a pair of faded shoes, and even a child's drawing, vibrant and precious. They stood before one another, creating a tapestry of shared lives, each story a thread binding them closer together. Margaret felt a warmth swell in her chest as she listened. Each revelation was a beacon of hope, illuminating the path to healing. A soft-spoken elder reflected on a pocket watch that had belonged to her late husband, recounting the time it had ticked softly on their wedding day, a heart beating in rhythm with love. Another gentleman lifted a small, weathered book of prayers, sharing how the words had guided him through grief. When it was her turn, Margaret's hands trembled slightly. She opened her journal, feeling the weight of her grandmother's wisdom spill forth like a river of light. This journal, it holds her dreams, her heartaches, and her unwavering faith. She began, her voice steady yet tender. She taught me that every moment, even the hardest ones, are opportunities for growth. Each word seemed to breathe. The room hung on her every breath. In sharing these memories, we breathe life into what was lost. We affirm that they are still with us, guiding our steps. Tears glistened in her eyes as she finished, longing for the connection that had spurred her heart into action. An echo of murmurs rose around the room, reverent and supportive. It was a beautiful melee of emotions, a tapestry woven from the threads of grief, joy, and the bittersweet fabric of remembrance. As the evening unfolded, an unseen presence enveloped the gathering. It tugged at Margaret's heart, whispering truths she had yet to fully understand. There was power in vulnerability. She realized a divine strength in these shared moments. Father James stood, his voice steady. Tonight, we witnessed something extraordinary. In each story shared, we seen that loss does not mean goodbye. Each one of us is a vessel of love, and our beloveds live on through us. As the night drew to a close, Margaret felt an unyielding urge within her. What if, she began, we explore deeper? What if these items lead us to revelations beyond our understanding? Hope lingered in the question, filling the air with electrifying potential. What miracles awaited them in the ashes of what they had lost? What hidden teachings lay in the stories left unsaid? The congregation shifted, anticipation weaving through their laughter and conversation. It was the cusp of something even greater. Would they discover the divine synchronicities woven into their shared experiences? Would Margaret find the answers she sought in the depths of the journal and beyond? There was a sense of grace, a hint of light beckoning. The following week was filled with whispers of anticipation and unspoken fears. Margaret's heart raced as she prepared for the next gathering, knowing that they would embark on a journey of profound discovery, revealing not just memories but guiding truths buried within their cherished belongings. As the evening enveloped the village in its gentle embrace, she entered the church with her grandmother's journal cradled in her hands. The familiar warmth of community wrapped around her like a comforting shawl. Each villager arrived carrying their own sacred objects, items steeped in history and spirit, bound together by a mixture of love and shared grief. Father James stood at the front, his eyes twinkling with something resembling excitement. Tonight, my friends, we dive deeper, he announced, his voice resonating with conviction. We are not just sharing our past. We will ask what these treasures wish to reveal to us. Let us be open to the revelations that lie in the connections we share. Margaret felt the weight of vulnerability settle in her chest. She envisioned the stories waiting to be told, interwoven threads of healing and light. The evening was set to weave a beautiful tapestry, and the thought both thrilled and frightened her. One by one, villagers began to share. A clear, melodic voice drifted through the air as Lucy stood before them, her hands trembling. "This is my father's favorite baseball cap," she said softly. "He wore it every time he took me to a game. Sometimes, I wear it, hoping to catch the whispers of his love. It makes me feel he is right there beside me." Her words landed like raindrops on the hearts of the listeners, and tears glistened in many eyes. Each story brought forth warmth and connection, bridging the gaps left by loss. With every tale, a flame ignited, filling the room with palpable energy. When it was finally Margaret's turn, she inhaled deeply, grounding herself. This journal belonged to my grandmother. She poured her heart into these pages, her dreams, her fears, her love for family. She opened it carefully, revealing sketches of plants, stories of her childhood, and heartfelt reflections. She always said life's most profound lessons come from both joy and pain. Margaret shared, her voice steady despite the flood of emotions. Perhaps it's time for us to reflect on our truths, to explore how they mold us. As she spoke, a soft breeze swept through the church, rustling the pages of her journal. It felt like a divine affirmation, as though her grandmother herself was present, urging her forward, nudging her heart to speak the unspoken. The villagers nodded, sensing the weight of what had yet to be discovered. Their stories now danced more boldly with the realization that love and loss were intertwined, each teaching resilience in new ways. One elder raised her hand, her voice trembling. "What if we let go of what weighs us down? What if we not only bind ourselves to our legacies but allow ourselves to heal together?" The room fell hushed, each heart beating in time with hope. With this simple suggestion, the atmosphere shifted. Margaret felt a surge of courage as recognition dawned on them all. What if tonight we each wrote one thing we've held onto that no longer serves us, and we allow it to enter the light? The power of that suggestion enveloped them. They suddenly saw within their hands not just relics of past lives but keys to open the doors to freedom. Father James lifted his head, his eyes radiant with delight. Let us embrace the act of release, the divine letting go that allows us to make room for new beginnings. Margaret's heart raced as papers were brought forth. Each villager penned down glimpses of stagnant pain, heavy burdens they had carried for too long. They folded the papers and placed them into a bowl at the center of the room, watching as the remnants of heartache became a symbolic act of transformation. Yes, Margaret exclaimed, feeling the jubilation ripple. Their collective intention was a bonfire of hope. They honored their losses and chose to elevate their spirits. The room now, filled with a golden glow, illuminating a path toward healing. As the evening came to a close, Father James encouraged everyone. In this divine exchange, we have learned that love persists beyond death. Our beloveds are with us in spirit, guiding us as we manifest a legacy of continuation. Margaret's heart swelled as she beheld her friends. They were no longer just a collection of individual stories. They were a vibrant tapestry woven together in faith and purpose. Tears of gratitude streamed from her eyes, a warm release of emotions long held tightly within that sacred space. Margaret felt the whispers of her grandmother meld with the collective chorus of their souls. In shared memories and unveiled truths, they were becoming not just bearers of memory, but champions of a new chapter woven with light. Exiting the church that night, breathless with love and connection, Margaret marveled at the revelations that awaited her. The journey had yielded an unexpected bounty, a deeper understanding of faith, love, and healing. She pondered what extraordinary transformations lay ahead. Let us continue, she whispered into the night, her spirit uplifted. Together we will uncover more. As dawn broke the next morning, the warmth of a new beginning embraced the village. They had not just shared their stories. They had unlocked a promise, a way forward into uncharted waters together. In this sacred unfolding, Margaret knew that through their collective genuine love and remembrance, they would illuminate paths yet unseen. And that, dear friends, is the essence of hope and faith. Now, it's your turn to step up. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss our next exclusive faith stories. Leave a like now to feed our algorithm and help spread this message of hope. Don't hold back, comment your reactions and testimonies about this impactful ending. And most importantly, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this divine manifestation. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second. Only true servants of God understand how vital it is to uplift others through these sacred journeys.